Boom. Okay. I'm just gonna give this a clap, and this is just to sync up the audio because it makes it a lot easier. Um, that's why they have that. It's because when you're putting up all the audios, it's hard to
Really?
you have a line of a little thing. You have to line up the little
Okay.
mountains. And
Okay.
yeah. Do I have to take off my shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the shoes, please.
Yeah. You don't know what I got going on there. Yeah. Hello, to my audience. This is my now unnamed podcast. We're going to be doing some interviews today. I have my pastor, Pastor Stephen. Yeah. So, anyways, we're just going to talk about your life. He was a veteran, police officer, and now pastor. So,
Well,
what?
mainly just a Sunday school teacher, but I'm
Yeah.
actually one of the co-chairs of the deacons in the church. So I've never actually been well, I was a children's church pastor back when my wife and I first got married. So we had like 20, 25 kids every Sunday. And so I was technically Pastor Steve to them, but that's the only time. So I've never actually been, I'm called to serve God and I'm a follower of Jesus, but whatever I need to do is what I'll do. So I've preached before and I've done funerals and I've done all kinds of different things, but I'm not actually a pastor. But I'm
what is a
your
pastor,
Sunday school
then?
teacher. Now, I've had people say to me, look, man, you're essentially like a pastor to these young people.
Yeah.
So I've had like 5 different people say, this is my pastor.
Like, yeah, I see you as
That's
a
how,
pastor.
that's, how they,
Like, honestly.
that's how they talk to me. But really, technically, I'm not. But I appreciate the assignment there of my role.
Well, no,
So,
I remember you like preaching in the church when I was a kid. Like, okay, yeah, we met in when I was like 10, in 5th grade, and you're actually one of the your sermons are some of the few that I remember from when I was a kid. I remember the other guy, Gary, but I also remember you as well. And so, like, yeah, like I remember like a lot of the music when I was younger because I was in the choir.
yeah, I've only
But-
spoken a few times at church, but if they needed a deacon to fill in when pastor had to be gone or with some urgent matter or he was sick or something, then they would ask one of
Okay.
us every once in a while to fill in. So it wasn't very often. I guess you just hit the
I
high
remember,
notes.
because I remember I at least
You just
I
hit the high
remember
notes.
You would be in the community center, and then I also remember at least a few days where you'd be at least in my memory. I remember the same sermons in the church. And I remember thinking, I mean, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be coming back home. I remember my dad talking. We would discuss some of the things, and I remember that. Well, those are the things that we'd always hear in the community center. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between a deacon and a pastor? Actually,
Well, it depends on what type of church you're in. So, like, I grew up Catholic, but I go to a Baptist church now.
Yeah.
But so they're very different roles. They mean different things in different churches. But basically, from what the Bible teaches, it's a servant leader. So when they chose deacons in the New Testament, it was guys who needed to help out, just getting the nuts and bolts, getting regular things done, getting some service done, getting some work done, so that the main pastors and church leaders, bishops or elders, whatever you want to call them, however you want to refer to them, so that they could take care of the part of the ministry that's the teaching and the preaching and doing all these things.
Okay.
So
okay.
deacons step up and what they do, and say a church like ours, a fairly modern church, would be, not to some people, but to me, because I grew up country. But, so we all have families assigned to us, people that we check in on, people that will help out. Like we'll help some widows with cutting down trees or doing their yards, or because I have so many sons, I often send my sons out. That's just part of the good fortune of being my child.
Yeah.
And like some of my boys went out and helped do ranch work with somebody the other day. So, and sometimes they want to pay them and sometimes they can't. And that's perfect because we're there to help. And, if they're built, my sons were built like you, they've got some muscle, they're slender, and they can work.
Yeah.
So then guess what? We're going to help people.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. So that's what we do. We help, kind of like a pastor has this group of guys, he can say, I need you guys to help me with this.
And you have
So
like a
we'll
lot
make
of like
hospital visits.
Yeah,
Some of us will preach or teach if we need to. We'll do whatever we need to do just to help out the church, but especially the pastor.
And so you have like I mean, I was just here once, but like a lot of kids. I know you have a lot of kids, but like,
So
do you kind of see
my
that
wife
as like
gave
you're
me-
kind of like the parent of the church? Because I also saw you grab a baby in the hall. and
Twice
everything.
in the
It was
last
too
week,
loud.
somebody handed me
Yeah,
their
yeah,
baby,
yeah,
and
yeah.
of course I love it because I love babies. There's no greater blessing than a baby. That's what I think is the greatest gift that God will give us
Yeah.
outside of Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of worldly things of just life, nothing beats a baby.
I want some babies.
And best of all, if it's somebody else's,
I'm unmarried. In due time.
If it's somebody else's and they get a little funky, you just hand the baby back.
Huh?
So if they get a little funky and it's somebody else's,
oh yeah,
hand the baby
I just
back.
want the fun part.
So yeah, we have. My wife gave me 9 kids. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And then I have several more. There's one in particular who I refer to him as a son, a foster son, because he's not mine legally.
Yeah.
But his dad moved away along. No, there's nothing there. Just there's no better way to explain it.
Nothing. Like really.
Yeah, there's no better way to explain it than to say he's the son to me. I treat him like a son.
Yeah.
I love, and just like a dad will have advice or he'll come to me for something, or whatever. I try to treat him just like he's a son to me. So I'm not his biological dad. I get that, but I love him like a son, and I feel like God has given him to me.
Yeah.
So the rule in my house was just because of some experiences with the military, I really prefer, unless God has called you to do this. So I give my boys a speech, and he's gotten the speech too. I don't want you to do the Army or the Marine Corps or something that is just super tough and stressful and difficult, or to be a police officer. I don't want you to do those things unless you tell me, hey, Dad, God called me to do this. Because and I did both of those things in my life because I felt like it's what I was called to do, especially law enforcement. But that's done for now. You can probably tell.
Yeah.
At least temporarily semi-retired. So I gave that talk to him too. About all of my boys are all okay, lots of electricians, UPS driver, etc., different things. And this one, my foster son, he said, I'm going to do what you do. And I said, no, you're not. What did I tell you? He said, what did you tell her? And I said, what I told my wife is that I feel like God's calling me to this. And she said, okay. Because it's a big deal to put your family in that situation, if you're other branches too, but yeah. I think especially sometimes because I worked with every branch when I was in the Army active duty. I worked with Marines and Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard guys, Kiwis, people from other countries. But some of those branches are very, very hard on the family. So I said, I don't want you doing these things in particular unless you tell me, Dad, God has called me. So long story longer, foster son says to me, at the time he called me Poppy. He thought it was funny. Much bigger than me, bigger than you, big kid.
Yeah.
And he says, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. So what am I going to say? And then I said, well, I don't want you to do it at APD just because of some things in Austin. And he said, okay. So he came on out here in Lockhart, and he's a detective already, and he took to it like a duck to water.
Cool.
And I'm so proud of him, but I would not want them to do that, except that he says this is what I'm called to do.
Yeah.
Okay. What Gain say? What can I say? Yeah. I can't say anything. So.
Well, I mean,
God bless you, and I'll pray for you.
Yeah. It's hard to do because, I mean, like, that's something you need good men in. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's good that he.
It should be a calling, just like to the ministry. My foster dad, who also there's no real legal bond, but there's a man after my dad passed away. My family was a bit of a mess for a while. This family came about, and their son talked to me about Jesus, and it said it's more than just going to church and confessing and not really knowing God. Because we were the kind of Catholics who would go on holy days a few times a year, and I believe in God. He's nebulous floating around up there, but I didn't really know God. And these people said, there's more to that. You need to really study the Bible. You need to give your life and commit your life to Christ. You need to accept him as your Savior. It's like, what? So these people led me to Jesus, so to speak, and this guy stepped in where there was no dad and filled the role as the father, and it was such a draw. And he's nothing against my biological dad who died when I was very young, but when I think of dad in my head, this is a man who finished raising me, taught me how to be a man, taught me how to be a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
So, and he had a foster dad, oddly enough, no legal whatever. But there's no other way to really easily explain that.
Yeah.
So it was him, he was one, then me, then I was one, and now my foster son. Like I said, I'm not trying to steal him from his family. His mama still lives around here. He loves his family, but to me, we're another family that we're a part of his life. So
when people look at like the statistics about like success of young people and having a father in the home, there's a level to that where it's not just the correlation is actually the amount of fathers in the neighborhood. Yeah. And so oftentimes there are situations where it kind of spirals out and there's like no dads, you know what I mean? And so I thought that it makes it more directly look like that, like not a father in the home, but it's actually just no fatherly spirits in general, you know what I mean, to connect to, you know.
And I've had a couple of other men who've come into my life where they've said, will you mentor me? Will you pray with me? I want to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
Hey, can I come over? And they're not mine. I'm not trying to steal.
Same.
I'm not like the Pied Piper with rats, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to steal everybody's children.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I love kids,
there are times
but not
my
in a
dad
creepy
couldn't
way.
be there, and there are other people. You know what I mean? Whether like football
That's it.
coaches, my old Principal Dever.
Yeah.
Like you were just like
Yeah.
there, like actually like really like. It's something you don't have to say. It's something you can just kind of tell, like, oh, this person actually loves me. You know what I mean? And it makes a big difference.
And want what's best for you, and they want to guide you and help you if you're willing to listen. And he does. You know, he'll ask me for advice. And he's a grown man. He's married now. His wife's expecting. Hallelujah! I'm happy about that.
Cool.
But
I heard.
I'm so happy. But anyway, I don't know how to explain it. And I wouldn't be surprised if someday, because this happened 3 times in a row now, if someday some young man comes into his life, and he would maybe fill that same role. And there's been a few others that I'm not quite as close to because they've moved off and stuff, but I still keep up with them and talk to them. But he's the one I'm closest to because there's just a special bond there. But they're a gift, whether they're your child or somebody God put in your life, and you can love them in an appropriate way and encourage them and give them a hug and pray for them and give advice when it's appropriate or just comfort them when they're going through something hard. Thank you, Jesus, that God puts those young people in my life. It's a great blessing. So I'm not going to get all teary-eyed and mess with you, but He puts people in your life for a reason. So
thank you.
Yeah.
No, and you've been really great. Like seriously. You know, I'm kind of an introvert sometimes, so I don't like asking for things, but you know, you invited me into your home a lot and invited me to spend time with your family.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to take advantage of that gym more often. Once you know what?
It's a thing culturally in other cultures. Some other cultures that's worldwide.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the country, out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's easier in the country.
You know, Inez,
it's harder in the
Texas.
city.
When I grew up, population 331, and we lived 5 miles from there. So it was really tiny. My wife commented one time when she went back home for a little school reunion, and she said, I can't believe how everybody's almost like family. Mm-hmm. And I said, when you're in this small of a community, you got to count on people. Mm-hmm. And the older generation before me, and this happened to me, I'm on the tail end, they call it the tweener, right? So baby boomer and Gen X. So we're on the year that is the break. Mm. So what would happen is, call so-and-so, or hey, go over across the pasture and get a cup of sugar. I did those things because it was kind of a more rural, slower pace. So there's still some things. Party line for the not like, hi, this is not that kind of party line. Party line, you know what that is?
No.
Where there's like, okay.
Oh, wait.
I told you, man, I tend to do this, so bear with me. So like 6 different families would all share one phone line because they didn't have enough for everybody to have their own line. So your phone rang in a different way. So mine was 1 long and 2 short. So if it went bring, 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 that was us. I'd pick it up. And if it was like 3 long, well, that was the people next door, the sharers or whomever. Or if I'm just making that up. My old neighbor Gina may correct me. Ours was 3 long. And people would listen in. And I'd be like, I know you're on the phone. I'm talking to my girlfriend right now. And so all these families, and if somebody was on the phone, you pick it up. Oh, sorry, you just hang up.
Yeah.
So that's where I grew up. So in that small environment, you need other people you can count on.
Now I can be texting my girlfriend right now.
You take care of each other, and it was a different time and better in some ways, I think. But, people tend to wax nostalgic. They think of the past and they're like, oh, it was so much better. There was so hard. Sometimes it was and sometimes it wasn't. Yeah. So when we would invite people in our home, it meant something.
Yeah.
And I think it still does. And I think it says to people, you are welcome.
Yeah.
You come in and it's a big deal to me to say, I'm not saying hooray for us for doing this, but to me it's like, I want to show you that I care about you, so why don't you come over?
Yeah.
And if somebody comes into my home, I think that means more than just meeting somebody at whatever fast food place or whatever, which is okay. Yeah. But it means something more when you come to my home. This is where we abide, where we live, where our real life takes place, and you're welcome to join it and be a part of it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a good thing. It makes somebody really feel welcome.
I really want to have a house. Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, yeah. I expect to. But,
it's not fancy, but it's a blessing.
Apartments. I mean, right now I'm living with my brother, and that's home. Like I have my own room and everything. But yeah,
there's a place. When there's a consistency. Like I grew up in the same place. My life was a bit of a mess for a while, and I was angry and unpleasant and sometimes not a very kind person before I knew Jesus. And apologies to all those people I grew up with who saw that part of me. But Jesus changes people. And God changed me.
I'm still changing. But I mess up a lot.
There
I still get angry.
some consistency for the better part of my childhood. From about 5 to about 17, we lived on the same property. And and went to the same schools. I knew all the same kids for 10, 12 years. And it's nice to have some consistency in your life. And my kids have gotten a lot of that here we've been here. We moved a lot. I think 21 times in the first 17 years of marriage or something crazy.
Yeah.
But we've been in this house for about 20 years, over 20 years. And it's nice to, you know what I mean? It gives something a little more structured for your kid, makes things a little easier for them.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a good predictor of like a stableness is for a nice jumping off point.
Yeah.
I moved around a lot as a kid. But I think what was nice is that the family was always there, except for one time when it wasn't. You know what I mean? But just the stability of having my family being home, I guess. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, like one of the things that happened that was like the most difficult move that I had, it was after the divorce, and then I think my family became like my friends in a way, because it was just my dad, my brother. Me and my brother were like fighting a lot at the time. And so, like, my family became like all the neighborhood kids in a way. And then when I moved again to Ohio with my mom, that really broke me for a bit. Like, cause like it was weird. It was weird. I don't know why it was like the second time. You know what I mean? I guess it wasn't as bad as the initial divorce, but then it was like, well, those are my family. You know what I mean? But after that, it did become easier to move. And I wonder if that's the reason why when I moved to Ohio, I kept a lot of people more arm's length. I think is because like I was like,
make those attachments.
Like a few really good friends, but like they take a long time for me to really get close to them. And then when I moved, like I didn't have the same like sadness as I did like the first time.
Because you learned if you make those attachments, it's gonna be painful. And am I going to be here long enough to really develop those friendships? To really get close and count on. And then even if I do, we're going to move again.
And my brain was like,
it's hard, especially for young people. Now, you did some of that when I was in the Army. You just learned. And some kids, they could say military brats, they learn to adapt because they move.
Everyone asks me, like, were you in the military? Because I say how many times I moved. And I'm like, no, just.
I think you learn to just deal with certain things in life. But I think it's healthier and easier for kids when they get to have a lot of stability.
And that's one of them. There's like 5 factors that predict antisocial behavior. You know what I mean? That's one of them is moving around a lot. Issues with the parents, more specifically issues with the mom, I guess. Issues with whatever. It doesn't matter. But having a stable like home is important. So but yeah. You were gonna say something. I said we should hold it for the podcast. You met Alex Jones one time.
Oh yeah. So
I'm trying to meet Alex Jones.
I don't watch a ton of. Sorry, everybody out there in social media land, but I don't watch a ton of social media. Look, I'm old, so I don't know if you're allowed to say things on here. I'm just gonna say it. It might rhyme with smook. I tend to be on that a lot. I don't know can I even say the name of the social media platform I'm usually on?
Facebook. Facebook.
You said it. I didn't.
Since I'm going to be something weird. No, people are still on Facebook.
Okay, I don't do.
Even like a lot of people in Luling, even young people, are still on Facebook. So it just, I don't know.
I'm not like you. All you young people do Insta Snapdoodle or whatever it is.
Instagram. I still go on there every once in a while just to like check things, but it's like it's stressful. It feels like a lot of girls use it as like a dating app, and I mean I don't know if they're like seriously. And there's good evidence that like Instagram in particular for girls' psychological health is like it's just super stressful because it's just girls get judged on their image and the whole thing is just images and girls competing for attention and like how many likes did you get? Oh, well, this boy liked my thing. Oh, then this boy didn't like my thing this time.
I think that is really.
Like, I don't even like. I pretty much just like whatever. I use Twitter now, which is like definitely no less insane.
It's just you have to be careful, like you said, if you base your psychological well-being or your self-esteem on how many likes you get, or I didn't get nobody looked at my stuff today. Yeah, that's a dangerous road to go down. So
I get no likes. I'm just tweeting into the ether.
Real relationships is so much better. But I mean, some people that helps some people to have some of those friends. But I mean, and people feel really brave online too, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
they'll say some things you'd never say to a guy's face, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So Alex Jones. So in Austin, it was pretty early on. I think I was still day shift, so it was in my first 10 years, first 8 years of being an officer, and I was just a regular street cop in South Austin. And there was some kind of robbery or something. Somebody held up a gas station,
Alex?
right, close to 35. And we were talking to people, and this guy was a witness. And somebody said, "Do you know who that is?" And of course, about 20 years ago, 18 years ago, whatever it was, I was clueless because I wasn't all into watching her. I was not on the cusp of creative things, and I was just a guy with a big family who was busy as a cop, right?
Yeah.
So I met this guy. And he was really nice and very personable. I was like, "Oh, that's a nice guy. You don't know who that guy is?" So at work they call me Wojo. They don't say Steve. They don't say Woytkewicz because that's a mouthful. Out there in TV land or whatever, internet land, people are like, what do you say? So it's a terrible name. So I'm not complaining. It's funky and I like it, and I'm a little funky too. So that's okay. So my nickname was Wojo. So let me jump off there for a second. There's an old TV show in the 70s called Barney Miller. Great show about cops in New York, and it had all these great characters like Jack Sue, Abe Vigoda. Well, these are the names, the actual how. These actors, Ron Glass, all these great actors. Max was one of the guys. So he played Woytkewicz, this big kind of sometimes goofier, portrayed as not so smart detective. He was a great character. So I go to the academy like, that looks like Woytkewicz. We're going to call you Wojo. We're not going to call you, how do you say it? And I'm like, no, that doesn't even work. How do you get that? So I said, you're Wojo from now on. So for my whole entire time as a cop, I was Wojo. I was like, that's awesome. I love that show. It's like, wait.
You love that nickname?
It's like, wait a second. Isn't that the one who everybody said, that's the big dumb one? They're like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, that hurts. So like, Wojo, you don't know who that is? I'm like, no. And they said, radio stuff, TV shows, blah, 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 real opinionated, crazy guy, got all kinds of wild stuff going on. Just very interesting character.
Yeah.
I was like, never. But he was just, all I know is from face to face, he was nice as could be. So
well, it's funny because like my whole life, like the first time I heard him, I think was in senior year in high school, and it was that video of him talking about they're turning the frogs gay. You know what I mean? And then but years later, I'm reading this book by Warren Farrell, and they're talking about atrazine, which is a chemical that they use to like fertilize stuff, and it like that's actually what it does. Like, you know what I mean? I was like,
gonna go off
no,
the
it's just
rails.
funny. That was like the first time where like I was like, wait, is Alex Jones actually right about everything?
Yeah, I'm not going to go off the rails, but I think there's a lot of things that people just go, whatever.
Yeah.
And some of those things are really bad for you.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
we should look into this before we whatever.
No, I'm trying to like keep my life like as natural as possible if I can, because there's just so many weird things that it's like, I'm trying to just limit all that. Except I still I vape on and off. So yeah. But
well, some things you get hooked on something. It's hard.
Actually, sometimes I switch to cigarettes because I'm like, well, these cigarettes are tested, but then my throat burns, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am
I had a friend's kid
like,
who is about your age. He's 20ish, early 20s, and he had terrible issues, and they thought it was related to vaping. So I don't know. I'm not going to accuse some company or whatever.
I know that,
but I know he had some serious lung problems, and in the hospital, and they thought there was a link, and I don't know.
was getting fungus in their lungs. Someone I know.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. My problem is food, obviously. So, and the sweet tea I have hidden down here beside the chair.
My problem is still food. It just hasn't shown yet. Yeah.
So I told you before, and you know this. Hike all the time, going like crazy hikes. We did not crazy to the super hardcore people watching this, but I did 11 miles in Palo Duro Canyon last week, which is pretty good since I tried to lop off my leg with a chainsaw about 10 days ago. So
you tried.
Well, I didn't try, but I was dumb enough to, like they say where I'm from, that boy ain't right. Yeah. So a little goofy sometimes. But so that was good. And my plan at the end of the summer is to climb the Middle Teton.
Yeah.
My sons, who are all built like you, are convinced that I can do this.
I think you can.
So maybe you'll read about me and say something nice if you come to my funeral. Yeah, say something nice if you come to my funeral. But Lord willing, God will take care of me. So
yeah.
But anyway, growing up that way in the country, you learn to depend on people. The old saying is, it takes a village, but really it takes, for me, a church family, and the people in the church we go to now, where you are with us. Those people above me, I'll be 59 next week. Those people 60 to 80.
Great. Wow. Yeah.
So hey, that's okay. Those people 60 to 80, man, they poured their lives into my kids, and If one of them's like, hey, stop running, they have full permission to do that. And my closest friends, one of their kids said something dumb and they're not around and maybe they mouth off to mama, my buddies would expect me to say, hey, don't talk to your mom that way. If your dad was here, what would he say? You know, and that's kind of how I grew up, and that's why I have this church family. And you need people to come alongside you, right? So
I had a friend named Kyle talking about like my friend family, but he didn't. His parents were divorced, and he would be so mean to his mom sometimes. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but we would have to step in. And I love Kyle, but we'd be like, hey dude, stop yelling at your mom.
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah, and she was like, whatever,
No.
whatever. Yeah, I don't want to like interject.
You know, as an officer, I had a thing like that.
It was just funny. It's one of those memories.
They're
where we had
big,
to, like,
big
tell him to be
kids.
nice to his mom.
I was pretty bulky in my first years when I was lifting a whole lot as an officer. And with all your gear on, about another 30 pounds, you know, you get to be a pretty imposing figure. And I had this big, because of skin cancer
you
problems.
You can still see it on you. I know you guys joke about looking like Santa, but like you can still see like you're not.
I've been sucking in this entire time.
You got like a kingpin body. You know?
That's awesome. So anyway, I have this drill sergeant type hat to keep the sun off me, but a campaign hat, and they let me wear it. I think at the time, only guy at APD. And I was dealing with this young guy, 13 or 14, big kid, and I speak Spanish, and I was pretty good at it at the time. And he was in his mama's face, and she was from Mexico, and she was working like 3 jobs, single mom, father left her for another. I mean, it was a sad story. And she's got a couple of kids, and this kid was just being a punk. I know. Yeah. Bobby had a rough childhood in some way, whatever, but nobody was abusing him. No one was. He knew he could push mom around, so he did. And I got up on him and said, "Don't you ever." What made me think of this is you're talking about mom, single mom or divorced mom, and she was crying. And what do I do? And I ruined his life because I was like, "Look here," I said, "Take that door off the hinges. Why is he wearing these $200 Nikes or Nikes or whatever you go? Why does he have electronics all over his bedroom?" You know, I buy my clothes at Goodwill and Salvation Army. Put your kid in it doesn't have to be nasty and holy, but I mean something plain and boring and for him embarrassing, you know. Yeah. Make him go to school that way. When he goes off, all his rooms should be gone. He needs a bed in there. He needs some books. You need to feed him. You know, why is he doing all these fun, crazy, why does he have internet?
Yeah.
Why does he have a cell phone?
Yes.
If he's treating you like garbage and calling you a blankety blank and bumping his mom, I said, don't let me see you. You better not hurt her because that's automatic jail. That's family violence in Texas. So don't you ever make us come back here. Don't be bumping your mom. Don't be cussing your mom. Don't be threatening your mom. So I don't know, whatever. What's the thing about fear of God? I'm not standing in the place of God, but I never went back to that house. I'll say that. So because I was upset, and I think he could see I'm no good at, if you said to me, hey, do these clothes make me look fat? I would. No. I mean, I'm not good at hiding things on my face. So I think he knew, genuinely, my partner and I were very upset with him, that your mom doesn't deserve this. And he had a little come to Jesus moment. And I didn't do anything, and I didn't threaten, but I just told him legally, man, you got to be careful. And your mom doesn't deserve that. That is sorry.
I remember, I think, all the times, I did something stupid, and, an adult, firmly told me no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but you need that, you know what I mean? Especially, I'm
constructive
crazy,
criticism.
and I'm the youngest, so I get, a lot of
me too.
love and leeway. Yeah.
But you know what? The baby always turns out the best. That's all I'm saying.
Hey.
Apologies to my older brother or sister.
Hey, I didn't say it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm the least successful of my brothers, really.
Depends on what you call success.
Well, I'm still alive.
There you go.
They've also been alive longer, so.
Are you like me, where you had a bunch of near-death experiences when you were younger?
They're definitely all more condensed within the past 5 years, but yeah.
Oh. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're not pushing up daisies yet. So
no,
I mean, it's good to be with Jesus after this earthly life is done, but I want to be around for my family for a while longer and for whatever else we need to do. On the time we've been given, right? I had I think probably 10 or 12 before I left home at 17.
Wow.
It's like I had a rod go through my neck, and you can't see it under the Santa hair, but the beard. But we were playing chase on my birthday, July 4th, on the top of car hoods and truck hoods. And I slipped, and I had this old broken off antenna on this pickup.
Ooh, wow.
So it didn't have the little knob on the top.
Yeah.
So it went through my neck, into my throat, And when I fell towards the ground, it came out and kind of did this, those things behind the door that you go, with those things. Yeah. It was kind of like that moment, right? Bad? So I fell to the ground. They rushed me to the hospital, and the doctor said something like 1/2 inch from your jugular, it would have killed you, because we lived out in the country. So that was the first of almost drowned a couple times. Had an angry, I don't use the word redneck in a negative way because I grew up country, but he was the unpleasant stereotype of redneck. He was, 5 feet tall, driving a 12-foot pickup, or I'm exaggerating, but he was all jacked up. He jumped out, and I waved to him, and I was holding my buddy's percussion drumsticks after band practice. I was a band nerd. Hey, I also shot stuff and gutted stuff and, played football.
Cool band nerd.
But country guys, you just did all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I had this stick and I waved because he moved over. We passed. Thank you. Where I'm from, you do this, right? And he thought I was flipping him off. So he pulls over, blocks the road, jumps out, puts a loaded rifle in my face.
You gotta be flipped off a lot if you mistake a wave. You have to be flipped off more than your wave.
We were scared to death. There were like 4 of us in the vehicle. We were scared to death. I remember it like it was yesterday. But then after he drove off, I was so mad. I mean, now I know that's highly illegal. But as a little country kid, I didn't know any better. So had really bad asthma attacks for a while, and pneumonia when I was a kid. But like I said, in the Gulf of Mexico, had a wave go over the boat. So what I tell my kids is I was kept alive for a purpose. God had a plan for my life, and yours too. Yeah, I don't know what exactly, but I know we're here to serve him, love him, obey him, and point people to him, right? And all these times I've been spared. That doesn't even count Army or cop times. That's just all the stuff when I was a kid. And I'm so grateful I should have never made it this long. So I'm very happy about it.
You talked about all those before being in the Army or a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had a few in those times too. Yeah. But yeah, it's... I'm grateful to be here. So, yeah, I say fat and happy a lot, and fat and happy.
You earned it.
Well, from where I'm from, I think they say fat and sassy, but I'm not calling myself sassy. So, yeah.
You gotta be sassy. You're not sassy.
It's good to still be around. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad died when he was 42, maybe, I think 43, 1977, whatever that is. So he was pretty young, and my older brother that you never met, he passed when he was young. 50, 53, somewhere in there. Grandpa, uncle, lost other uncles in Vietnam. The men in my family, the track record is not always great. So I'm so grateful I'll be 59 next week, Lord willing. So,
yeah.
Every day you get, right?
Yeah.
What's the Bible say? I know you know the verse, and I can't go look it up right now, but making the most of every opportunity, right? The days are evil. We need to watch for those opportunities in life. And this is one of those.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm grateful, very, very grateful to still be around. So he's got a plan for us, something for us to do.
Yeah.
So, and you don't know, every once in a while, I try to do a lot of this, and I think you're that guy too. You want to be kind to people and meet interesting people and strangers. And so even when we're hiking the trails in Lockhart, or a guy ran by me the other day, and I'm going to insult French people worldwide. And he ran by me, and he's like, "Hello, how are you?" That's my bad impersonation of a friend. He was running. I got it. And I was like, "What? That guy's running down the trails in Lockhart in the state park. What's that about?" It was just the coolest thing. I was like, "Hey, man!" So, my kids are like, "Really? You going to talk to everybody?" So after church on Sunday, if we come over here, and you're like, "Why is he sitting out in the car?" It's because if she sends me in, she knows I'm going to take 25 minutes to talk to people. So she'll run to the HEB and get groceries or whatever, ice or, a bag of lettuce, whatever it is. And I have to sit in the car because she knows if I go in,
a lot of talking.
We'll eat at 1:30.
That's my mom. My mom, especially because she's in her hometown right now.
Yeah.
So when you go to visit, she has, everywhere we go.
Gotta see everybody.
Someone talks. It's,
yeah.
Which I love, you know what I mean?
It's
I got
good.
that from her, where I became really talkative, open to talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was good in LA. That pays off a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to be shy, you know what I mean?
You meet people and sometimes one kind word will make a big difference in their day. Yeah. You've heard stories where people were thinking about doing something tragic with their life or really discouraged or a really dark place. And one person smiles or says something kind or asks how they are, and it makes a difference. So when I first went to UT in Austin, I had a degree from somewhere else already, but I went to UT for a while in the late 80s, early 90s. And where I'm from, you talk to people. So at the time, it had 52,000 students or so. It was like number one in the U.S. It was crowded. So I'm walking like, howdy, hey, hi, how are you? Hey, how's it going? Hi, howdy. My friends are like, dude, you're freaking people out. It's like, we don't do that here. I was like, well, that's rude. And they're like, you're not back in the country. You just, you know what?
Well,
just
I got a
walk
lot of
past people.
compliments for it because I lived in so many small towns, and then when I went to Los Angeles, I was always smiling at people and waving. Like, they actually were like, I don't know, like they seemed to like it. Like, I don't know, some people thought it was weird, but they're like, you know.
I feel like it's
yeah.
part of who we're supposed to be as Texas people.
Yeah.
Right? What are we?
Eventually, I did get to a point where sometimes it was like, okay, it's too stressful to like make eye contact with homeless people. I see why they gave that rule, but like still oftentimes do it, except for if I was like, I don't know, because some people are just crazy, and it's like, it can be a lot.
Yeah.
Which honestly, it's a bad habit because I liked keeping that up, and I felt bad when I kind of closed down a little bit more. But like,
don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact.
Yeah, that's what they say. But like, you know, I don't know. I mean, they always ask for money, but if you tell them no, they don't always just get mad. They're just like, I think they're just happy that someone will talk to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you just say no, but I'll keep talking to you, a lot of them are just okay. You know what I mean?
But you can see every once in a while, you know.
Yeah, and I'll give money
since you're like me,
it's just,
every once in a while you probably see this kind of.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I've gone past.
Yeah.
It's time for me to close this up.
Yeah.
They get the glaze like a donut over the eyes, and you're like, it's time to go.
But like, you know, like if you're living in a certain area, like you'll recognize the same people. They're just kind of like your street neighbors. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to just be mean to them.
There's a guy at the park. Really, not to be weird. I'm a happily married man, but this big black guy. His name's James, and I've met him briefly a few times. But he runs in the park when we walk in the park, right? And I'd blame it on my wife, but even if she wasn't there, I wouldn't be running in the park. I'd still be walking in the park. So we've just gotten to know each other by doing this.
Yeah.
And a lot of spider webs, when we get there at 6 something in the morning, we're usually first. So I haven't seen him in a few days, but there's been a bad horsefly problem. And I think they like the big guys because they were all over me. So now we're using bug spray, which talking about things that aren't always good for you.
Bug spray?
But yes. But so we see them on the trails, I don't know, in the last couple of months.
I never thought about that.
Probably 2, 3, 4 times a week.
For you, yeah.
And it's always good because we'll be walking, hey, good morning, good morning. Sometimes he has his dogs. Sometimes he doesn't. But it's just good to, you know what I mean? There's a little, and I hope at some point that turns into something else where, you know, he says, hey, man, where are you from? Or, hey, what's wrong? Well, I'm stressed about something. And I could say, can I pray for you? Or, hey, let's go get breakfast tacos. So. Which is always a good idea.
You are that guy.
Yeah. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Right. And now that I'm semi-retired, I can do it for another month or two.
Yeah.
Until because of, I'm not going to go into politics, but inflation and cost of living are for real.
Oh,
so I thought my money would go further, and I forgot. You know, I got to take $1,000 out of every month for my retirement, for my pension. I got to spend $1,000 a month for insurance, and then taxes are about $1,000, and now I'm like, whoa, what happened? So come August, you'll see me out looking for another job. I'm taking the summer to have a big time. I have Mama's permission. So,
do you want to go back? Like, are you excited at all?
You know, I don't think I want to be a street cop again. I've been a teacher, a counselor. I was a postal worker. I've done a lot of different things, right? But I think I miss some of the camaraderie of law enforcement. I'm wired to do that protection thing. I love kids. So I hope, I just started contacting some people this week. I hope that one of these school job police officer things works out.
Yeah.
Now, I'll miss the Santa thing.
That'd be good.
But I think the wife's ready for this to go. I don't know if she's in there.
She doesn't like it?
Oh, no, because
really?
it's a little out of control.
Okay.
So
I need to trim this.
No, your hair is awesome.
I'm gonna trim it a little bit.
Okay.
You know.
Remember who your audience is.
Okay.
There's probably a bunch of bald people are going to see this and go, he doesn't get to complain about his hair.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is very true, but.
There's a lot of bald people that don't like me for some reason.
It was the worst part about being in the Army. Well, not the worst, but there were some hard times. Or as a cop, when they finally said, y'all can grow beards, I was so happy. So I just hate shaving. If I could do Gimli, I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd. If I could do Gimli the dwarf, oh, man, I'd do it in a minute. So
Wait.
he's the short, funny guy in Lord of the Rings. The bulky guy carries an axe. Sorry, my Tolkien nerdiness is going to come out.
I know you're talking about.
He's got that ginormous beard. It's got like little ringlets and things. Oh, that's just
get the
perfect.
ringlets.
Oh, I'm telling you, if this is still
once
here
you
at
spend like a
Christmas.
drop 1,000 on ringlets, you'll just have to keep the beard, and she won't be able to.
So
tell
you know what I do? I started this. I saw a picture of it on Amazon somewhere, and probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw these beard lights. So at Christmas, you'll see this year, every year after Thanksgiving, I start wearing these beard bells. I don't usually put the lights in, but I'll wear these little bells, and it's the best thing ever. Not to my wife, but to me. So you won't see them on Sunday mornings because she's like, Sunday morning, really? But the rest of the day, the other times I'm at church, and what's best is when I'm hanging out with my buddies doing nerdy Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I'll put them in, and when I'm eating and stuff, chips and stuff, it jingles
Do your
every
friends
time.
still play?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've never played before. But
You're kidding.
No, I've
You
never,
might have
I've
to
never
come
had like
watch
a
it.
larger friend group who plays.
here.
I've done.
My brother and my buddies,
Video
my
game
brother,
generation.
my foster brother and I, and my buddies, we all game together, and we still do Dungeons and Dragons, and we've done other systems and space games, but roll the dice, rescue the princess, kill the dragon, fight the demons. So I like being the good guy, kind of the paladin, the holy warrior kind of guy. Or I always want to be a good guy. And one of my buddies will see this is already going loser, because he doesn't run those characters. He'd rather come on, man, let's get what's in it for us, and let's get powerful and do crazy things. And I just want to be the guy in the movies. You're like, dun, 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 that guy. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, we still do it. A bunch of my sons. I'm looking at that table because I used to game at that table. Probably 5 of the boys usually get together. 2 of the older ones who live in San Marcos, and the ones here.
Maybe that's why there's less board games, is because there's like less siblings. You know what I mean? Like,
You
I don't
should-
know, because like
I don't know if they have
growing
room
up,
at their
we played
table,
so many
but
board games.
You should
And
at
then-
least watch sometime.
Yeah.
You should at least come watch us.
Okay. I'll be down to play.
Sunday
If you want to
nights.
invite me, I'll
Well, the problem is we have
definitely-
like 6, 7
I'll do
guys in my
whatever.
group
I think I got a
already.
cloak, honestly.
Once
Like-
you, we don't dress up. We don't burn candles. We don't.
No, I will though.
We don't sacrifice virgins. We don't.
Okay, go.
We don't wear pointy hats and armor and bring a
Okay.
sword. It's not like that. It's a theater of the mind, as my brother would say.
All right.
So, but it's fun. Weird story.
I
By
didn't
the
think
way,
you were going to sacrifice virgins.
so like I said, grew up pretty unhappy and closed off and angry about things just because of the way. You know how I was raised, and there's a good part to this and a bad part. You take care of yourself. You can't trust anybody else. You need to rely on you, because that's basically what my mom learned through a very hard life at points in her life. And
That's really hard, yeah.
a man who was unfaithful and left her, right? So you take care of you. And it doesn't mean get all you can and to hell with everybody else. It's not what you meant. But you can count on yourself, and you need to take care of it. You got you. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's good to that, and there's bad to that.
Yeah.
And so when I finally started feeling like there's got to be more to God than just not understanding the Bible and going to church every once in a while, and there's got to be more than just some floaty creature up there. And this kid who came to talk to me about Jesus, Jason, my foster brother, again, not legally, but he's my brother. Well, what does God do with Jesus' family? He makes us eternal family. You're my little brother, right? So, but he made us kind of like David and Jonathan, you know what I mean? Super close. Although in the Bible,
Yeah.
somebody's dad isn't trying to kill the other guy.
If you
But-
mentioned that a little bit earlier, I would not sure what I got. I read this story
okay,
yesterday.
so he starts talking to me, and I find out one day we were in band together, but I was kind of not really the big man on campus, but I was somewhat popular, and I had held different office, president of this and football team. I'd grown up my whole life there, so I had a lot of friends, and this nerd, big country redneck boy, right? And this nerdy, kind of chubby, artsy, we say artsy fartsy back in the day. He was in the drama and band and stuff, and he moved out to the country. We're eating lunch one day, and somebody goes, well, you're just an imp. And he goes, do you even know what that is? And my foster brother, just a friend at the time, goes, well, yeah, kind of peckish, kind of, a little annoying, kind of does things to you kind of person, irritating. Or it's a creature in Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, and I looked at him like this, and I go, what? And I yelled, and I jumped up, and I banged my tray down. He's like, this redneck's going to something. Is he going to kill me? What's going on here? I said, you play D&D? And he goes, yes, I do. And he goes, I love it, man. I said, I haven't played since the 70s. I learned in like 77 or whatever. And he's like, what's going on here? It's like, Twilight Zone moment, right? And we started hanging out after that. We started playing Dungeons and Dragons. And eventually he's the guy who led me to Jesus.
That's cool. Wow.
And I'm convinced, I know somebody out there's head's going to explode when I say this, but I'm convinced that God used that gaming and that D&D stuff to draw me to this guy.
Yeah.
And because of that thing, that coming out, because I would have never hung out with that guy. The drama and the one-act play guy and the band guy, and because I was into football and shooting stuff and hauling hay in the summer, and I was just not that guy. And then through getting to know each other, one day he says, "Man, you need Jesus in your life." So what are you talking about? I go to church every once in a while. I was baptized as a baby, so I'm going to heaven. I try to be good. He's like, "That's not what the Bible teaches, man." So then we got close, and he talked to me, and I was like, "This is what I need to do." So at almost 17, I became a follower of Jesus and actually gave my life to Christ, right? Became a follower of Christ. And I'm convinced, and like I said, some old lady's head's going to explode out there on the interweb, but God used Dungeons and Dragons to bring me to Jesus.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to, "You're casting spells." And
I know people who weren't allowed to read like Harry Potter.
We never cast spells. We don't. It's a game, people.
Yeah.
Risk people don't want to actually take over the world.
Yeah.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just had to throw in that aside. So give a shout out to my nerdy D&D buddies out there.
I love board games. That's whenever my family get together. I think we always play spades, but definitely we try and play like a board game if we can get our attention
we'll see
together
if
for long
one
enough.
of the groups can make room for you, but you could at least come watch. But the group I'm in right now is like 7 people. And once the game master or dungeon master, once you get past a certain number of people,
it'd be hard for me to
it's
just jump in.
unwieldy.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets unwieldy. Now, a bunch of mine will do this, so they do these games too.
Oh yeah.
So behind us over here.
I stopped recently.
I can't do it. Something about my hands aren't huge, but that's way too much for.
It's probably because I started playing in like 5th grade, and I know it's like both of my older brothers, or 5th grade might have been a little younger than that, but they never really got into it. And I wonder if there is just like a thing, or like you start at a certain age and like you get used to it. And both of them were like,
my kids are trying to convince me because I told them when I get done being a cop and working and blah blah blah, I'll try one of these games. So now they're telling me, but I'm like, it's just
watching someone play.
Grandpa doesn't think that way. It's so complicated.
It's like I'm able to project myself into the screen enough where like. We're watching some like my brother play. Like he never knows what direction he always gets lost. And I think it's just like if you start at a certain age, it's like you can like just like
what we need to do some Sunday when we have pizza and lunch and stuff when you come over. We had one time in here. I think there were 7 of my sons in here killing each other on Super Smash Brothers or whatever it's called. And for me, it's like my heart doesn't feel so good. I can't. It's too much sensory overload. I'm like, but. It's entertaining. They're like, how old you are? And all these little things are going on, and they're all yelling, and I'm like, and it does my heart good. It's a good moment, but then I can only take so long because I'm like, I can't watch this.
Yeah,
it's too much activity.
I get that. Yeah, my sister can't watch video game for any period of time.
But it's fun. It's fun to see all y'all in here doing that. It's a good memory for me.
Yeah,
because they could be out dealing drugs and kicking puppies or something. I don't know.
Halo's not that. Yeah.
Every time I use that silly example, like pushing grandma out of a wheelchair and dealing drugs and kicking puppies. Every time I say it, they're like, "Kicking puppies? That's terrible."
Not the first for grandma. Yeah.
So usually people freak out about. I'm like, no, I don't. I love dogs. Okay, don't take that wrong. So
yeah.
And when my son is moving back pretty soon, one of my boys, he's going to bring a 95-pound or so American bully. Basically, it's like a pit bull, but they want to lick you to death. and nothing's clipped on him, and he's so pretty.
That's cool.
His head is bigger than your hair.
I know. Wow.
Have you seen him?
Oh, I haven't seen that one, but yeah,
his head is. Yeah. I only think I have a big head at 7 5/8 or 7 7/8, whatever it is.
It's a measure of your head?
Yeah.
I've never took my head.
You don't know your head size?
No.
I have a son who works in a custom hat shop. So we all know our head sizes. People are like, these people are freaks.
I can't wear hats right now. So.
Well, yeah, but you have a great reason not to.
Yeah, maybe one day. I'll probably one of these. I'll have a reason to shave it off for something.
I don't see it.
But
I don't think I've ever looked at the back. Look that way for a second. Oh, that's so unfair.
What?
I have a giant bald spot right here.
Oh no.
You got nothing.
Yeah.
There's a
when I get stressed, like I literally like feel like I'm like, am I losing it? But like no,
it's you got nothing to worry about. I had a cop buddy, Joe. I shouldn't say last names. Hernandez Joe, and I swear his head, receding hairline. His was moving down his forehead the older he got. I'm like, come on, man.
Come on.
This is not fair. And he just smiled about it. His hair is always just so wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think they say if you don't lose at a certain age, you get to keep it. So I'm on the precipice. We'll see.
I have two of my...
I've moved to I feel like a little bit further back in the corners. Because I know if I lined up my hair like I used to when I was younger, it would be a little higher. But it's not. It's pretty solid.
You may have seen one of them earlier. I won't say his name, but it might rhyme with 7. He's one, and then I have another son, and both of them are starting to thin already.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both 19 to mid-20s, so sorry. But and then the other 4 biological sons and the foster, they don't have anything to worry about. But it's not the most important thing in life.
Yeah, well, our dad has our hair. Everyone has our hair except for my brother Carl. He's not happy about it. He started losing his hair in high school. And
now, is everybody like this, tall and slender?
I'm actually the shortest of my brothers.
What?
Yeah.
Aren't you like 6 foot, 6'1"?
I think I'm 6'1". 6 foot or 6'1", yeah.
Good grief.
And I'm the shortest, yeah. The tallest is he's 6'5".
Yeah.
And then my other brother, he's like 6'1.5" or 6'2". And
Goodness.
So yeah. So
yeah, no height problems.
I'm like the same height as my dad.
So at the grocery store, you'll hand stuff to little tiny ladies.
Yeah. And I'm also the lightest too. So yeah. I mean, obviously, if I'm I
think I have a 5'10", a 5'11", and then everybody else is 6 to 6'3". So, and I'm starting to have to say, "Hey, look at here," trying to talk to him like, "Listen, son," I'm having to kind of do this number. So, but my excuse is, "Well, you have hair, that's why you're taller," and they're like, "Whatever."
Yeah, well,
they're respectful, so they don't go.
People think I'm taller than I am just because of my hair, I think. And they're like, "Aren't you like 6'3"? Either that, or they just want to believe that they're over 6 foot.
I think it was one of the national Lampoon Vacation blah blah whatever movies. No, but it had Chevy Chase in it. He's having a dream and he's playing for the Lakers, and he's like 6'4", 6'9" with the fro, something like that. That's so wrong.
Yeah, no, that's me. Everyone tells me I must be like 6'2" or 6'3", but like I said, I think that's because I think they lie about being 6 foot. Okay,
I'll have to admit, where's the Bible? Let me put my hand on the Bible over here. I'll have to admit that I'm actually 5'11" and a half. I used to be close to 6'1" when I was in the Army, but if you jump out of planes enough and carry 80-pound packs and play football and lift heavy weights, and your spine starts to, looks like a river.
You're already married.
You don't have to worry about it. By the way, I'm going to say something sex specific here. That is so unfair because I know some great guys. One of my best buddies is like 5'3", and he's amazing. He's a great guy, and it worked out for him. He has a beautiful wife who's like 5'4", so it all worked out. But there's an unfairness there that I hate that guys who are shorter. You know what I mean?
No,
that's a harder road to walk down. Not just from relationships with women, but also because of, and you think people will be bigger, and that's a bad joke. That's not what I meant. On the inside, people would be a bigger person than that as far as cutting them some slack. I know you're going to get some hate mail. Oh, we're going to be funny now, big guy. But I'm trying to keep it a little edgy for you. See, so it's just not fair. It's just a harder road to walk down.
Yeah.
But I will say, I had some buddies, cop work and otherwise, like 6'5". Sometimes people want to pick fights with those guys to prove they can take down the big guy.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
My brother explains stories people just like starting fights for no reason, and that's the only thing we can think about why they would do that. It's just like.
By the way, where I'm from in the country, there's a lot of guys my size, average guys, but I also went to school with 6'3", 6'5", 6'9". I went to school with some gigantic. He might have been 6'7". Johnson and Lavati, some big country boys.
6'7" is
guys who could throw bales of hay with one hand if they wanted to. Big boys. Wow. It took me the leg and both arms. You know what I mean? Yeah. So because it was me and the Soto brothers. Shout out to the Soto brothers wherever you are, because they had the truck, so we had to split the price for the hay. And if you're the big boy, you had to throw the bales. One would stack and one would drive. Cool. I don't even remember their first names, but Gilbert, I think. They were great guys. So, and because of that. Part of the reason growing up with a lot of Hispanic families is I had a good basis for Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
But then in the Army, I used it a lot. And now, almost like we're talking, if you start talking about something really weird, what I can't do is engine parts, car stuff.
Okay.
And cooking. I don't
Because
know how
those,
to,
those
I
are
don't
good
know
to a
how
lot
to
of
do that
names,
stuff.
right? Yeah.
But if you want to talk
Like
about
specific.
drugs or politics or family stuff or the weather, I can do all that. Tacos, I can talk about tacos quite a bit. Thank goodness it does a show. I'll confess to you, I bought double tacos today, so that we
Along
can
with the ribs?
so that we can. Yeah, hey, watch it. Watch it. My wife might watch this. What ribs are you talking about?
I don't know. Never mind. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I bought double the tacos this morning so that we'd have them for tomorrow morning too. Huh?
That's a good idea.
Smarter than the average bear.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's from an old TV show too.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yogi
So,
Bear. Yogi Bear, right? That's Yogi Bear.
Let me tell this to you. This is one story that I feel compelled to share when I talk about police stuff and you have questions about things in life and God putting you in the right place at the right time, right? And I want to encourage this for you, or especially even people. This happened to me in my 40s when this happened. I was 40, maybe 41. I think I was 40 or 41. I go to a call, and lots of officers have stories, deputies and firefighters and paramedics and police officers. They all have, first responders have a lot of stories, right? But I just want to share this because it was a very difficult time and it was terrible. But I knew instantly that I was at the right time and the right place for that one moment. It's where I was supposed to be in my life. Maybe for my whole career, for this one moment. And I'm not going to use names because these people, I kept in touch with them for a little while after this happened. But we go to a call in South Austin, and this lady is out shopping with her mom or mother-in-law or whatever, family member, and the dad is home, and their baby had that RSV, kind of like the breathing chest kind of sickness condition, and the kid had gotten sick with it, and the baby rolled over and fell asleep on a blanket or something and suffocated. And he thought she was just taking a nap. So this young dad finds this kid. And I want to say sometimes you don't feel like you're in the right place, or why did somebody go through this, or why was I there, or why does this happen? And sometimes God provides a background for you, or a training, or things that happen in your life. So for that one moment, it all comes together, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be in life. So we go to this house, and there's some other officers there. I'm the newest guy. Even though it's 40, 41, I mean, I was a new cop. I started late in life. And the dad's just freaking out, and he's upset, and he's trying to hold it together. And his wife's their only child. They don't know if they can have another child. They have issues. And he said, what am I going to tell my wife? She's out with his mom or her mom, something like that. I think with one of the grandmothers. And they're gone. And I talked to him. I said, you need to call her and get her home. And we'll walk you through this. And he was like, what am I going to say to my wife? He wasn't falling apart, but he was at such a loss to how do you handle that situation? So she comes home, and we have at that point 4, 5, 6 officers, like sergeant, corporal, other officers are all there, other experienced officers, because don't look upset at me.
No, I'm fine.
Because I thought you're upset because it's.
No, I'm not upset at you. That's just sad.
Okay, I'm a big guy.
Scary. It's a scary situation.
Almost 260, but I'm a crier, so don't do that to me. So I'm messing with you. So it's okay because I was an angry, bitter, closed off guy, and God broke that when I became a follower of Jesus. And God said, I'm going to show you something. And now it's like, not the trash can commercial, man. You know what I mean? So God warped that in me. He softened my heart like clay and just did this to it, right? So anyway, I told you, focus. So the wife comes home, and she does lose it. And who could blame her? And she's telling me, just like I don't know if we can ever have another child. This is our one baby. What's going to happen in our life? And she's freaking out. And I'm in that room with my sergeant, who's a great guy, Tim. I won't say his last name. And my corporal, I don't want to say his name because, I'll say it, Ozzy. So really good sergeant corporal. And then these other partners, some cops I was close to, some very close to. And my sergeant's like, we can't do this. And so I had already started. I had a background as a counselor. So I had a background in counseling. They knew I loved kids. They knew I was a Jesus guy. And they're like, you're the new guy. You've been on the street however many months, but you got to do this. And I was in there with Special Forces guys, with combat Marine veterans, 2 of them, tough guys, manly men. And they all walked out. And they're like, because it's heartbreaking. I mean, she's wailing. And she's holding on to this dead child and won't let go. So everybody got out of there. So it's just me and her. And they're like, we can't do this. And my sergeant looked at me. He said, this is why you're here. And man, it was one of those seminal moments in life. You know what I mean? And anyway, I talked to her. It might have been 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. Talk, and just held her hand and cried with her. And I didn't cry, but I mean, I'm like this. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to cop guy, hold it together, you know? And, and she finally said, "No one touches this baby but you." She said, "I'm watching. Nobody touches my baby." And she kept saying the name. "Nobody touches so-and-so except you." So I said, she said, "You have to take care of her. You have to make sure." And finally, what was I going to say? So finally she gives me the baby. Husband comes in, hugs on her. And then I had to walk the longest walk of my life. People will joke about walking down the aisle. I'm not even going to joke. I love my wife. I'm not going to joke about that, but walk down those steps, walk down the street to the wagon to put the baby in it. And I had to zip this, and I carried this little child, somewhere close to 2 years old, maybe a little under 2. Anyway, I carried this child, and I put her in this bag, and this baby body bag, and zip her up. And then I had to go back in the house, and because I know I needed to talk to the family. So I went back in, and we're talking to the family, and when Austin hired me, they're like, "Look here, Jesus guy, you can't just go preaching on street corners." And I'm not going to do that. But if I have an opportunity to help somebody and that my faith helps, then I'm going to do that. And I saw a cross and I saw a Bible, and I said, "Do y'all believe that?" I said, "Because I believe that. I'm a follower of Jesus. And I can't explain why this has happened to you, but can I pray with you?" And they brought in this other officer on my shift who had lost one of his children. And it was huge of him to say, I mean, less than a year before, lost a small child, almost the same age. And he said, "I'll come help this family too." So we were in there and we prayed together, and man, it was the hardest moment. And then on the way back, they're like, "Okay, when everybody leaves, then I have to type it all up on the way back to the substation." I get there, and then I start to feel super up, start to get all watery. Like, I've got to be a cop. I got to get this done, do the job, hold it together. I get home. Okay, thank you, Jesus. The next morning, I sleep like 2 hours. I'm sitting in here looking out that window in the rocking chair, just zoning, right? Just like this. And my son, who is within a month of the date of birth of that child, crawls into my arms. Man, it messed me up. He crawled into my arms and fell asleep, and it felt exactly like that dead baby. I was a wreck. I cried. I cried for like 45 minutes. And my wife's like, she started to walk in and just turned around and went out. She's like, "I knew," because she's not one of those wives who wants to hear the story. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to know. And that was definitely one she didn't want to know. And I'm bawling.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's it. And later we went to the funeral, some of us, and they sent me Christmas cards and stuff. It's a tragic story, but I knew as positively as you can know in life that you were at that place at that moment for such a time and such a place as this, you. And it's so affirming in so many ways that God put me there, right there. I am in this life, if not for anything except that one moment, for those people. And we won't forget this, and their families, all hugs and loving on us at the funeral, sent me Christmas cards, keep in touch with me. They used to, and I've lost track of them, but I don't want to be pushy, but now that I'm a cop, I want to check on them. The very somewhat happy ending to this story is they were able to have another child. And,
yay, okay, good. I was worried. Yay,
but,
wow, okay.
I just want to encourage you and anybody else who happens to see this. If you have doubts about this life and why we're here and what are we doing, I can almost guarantee you at some moment in your life, you will not know where I did, washed over me, the lights flashed like, Saul on the road to Damascus. I mean, I knew positively, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. And there were many other moments where God took care of things, and I knew I was at the right place at the right time, talking people out of killing themselves, things like that. Big moments, right? And it's not the chasing and the fast cars and the craziness and the fighting. That's whatever. It's about those moments where you made a difference in somebody's life. You helped them do the worst day of their life. But yeah, sure, I love to go into schools and talk to kids and, "Hey kids, Officer Wojo here." And that's why it's hard for me to let go of that. And I want to go back and so we'll see what happens. But I hope, I have to determine, see what God's will is. But I kind of hope I can go back and work with kids again and be an officer. But also, I used to be a teacher too. But, work with kids and protect those most precious blessings in life, right? But I would encourage you and others, I don't know why exactly we're all here except to those of us who are followers of Jesus, to point people to God, to love people, to help people, to obey Him, and to just be grateful for what we have, right, for this life that we have. So I just try to tell that story when I can, because
beautiful story,
right? And and I don't have to worry about, people will do this with a fish story. That story, it's not going to change, because that's exactly as I've told it whenever I've told it to people. So that's what happened, and it was all recorded. So man, I'm the conviction washed over me. I need to reach out to this family. I need to see how they're doing. So, but I'm going to have to track them down, because I've lost their stuff. I still have that card, and I still have the picture of that baby that died, and I still have the Christmas card the next year. You don't forget it. So there are other. I don't want to go down cop story lane, because there's so many where I got to be a part of super cool stuff, but also some very tragic moments too. But you're wired for it or you're not. That's why I say, unless you're called to do this with your life, or called to be in the ministry. There's that's my foster dad said to me, son, he taught Jason, to my brother and I, Jason, he said, boys, don't do this unless God calls you to do it. If you do it for, you think of whatever, this is important, or, I'm going to make money, I'm going to be whatever. If God calls you to be this, you better do it. But if He doesn't, don't go into this. But he said, missing. So, anyway, I don't know why I felt like I need to tell you that story.
No, I think that was wonderful.
Everybody in life has crazy stories, and that's my best story from like the last 20 years, other than where God has come through and spared the lives of my children in some crazy moments.
You told me about,
Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 we almost lost in some way or another. But for what, it's not everybody's story, but in my life, God has spared our kids. So I'm really grateful for it. So I can keep embarrassing them.
Yeah, every Sunday.
I left my embarrassing shirt in there.
It was I think that's a good place to call it for today.
All right.
Thank you so much. I would love to do this again. Not anytime soon. We can,
we do a holiday special.
Yeah.
Or if we're off in the mountains at some point or something.
Yeah.
There's a reason the Bible, MLK Jr. and others use this quote out of the Bible. I lift up my eyes to the hills or to the mountains, from whence does my help come? From the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He doesn't say, I look over at the swamp. Right? Nothing against swamp people out there. He doesn't say, I look to the desert. I look to the beach. He says, I lift up mine eyes to the hills or to the mountains. And, all you people out there in the mountains who are watching this, I'm happy for you. That's what I meant to say.
I know.
But, I'd love to again. And always good to see you. I see you all the time. It's not like some interview. You're not going to see somebody again.
Yeah.
I'm grateful God put you in our life.
I'm grateful God
put
you in my life.
And you've been a blessing to us. And if any of your friends out there have any questions, I'll be glad to talk to somebody about Jesus. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Yeah, and He's your life. He took a ruined life from a family that had a lot of ruinous things in it, and He snatched me out of that. In the old days, they say, seized by the power of a great affection. And His affection for us is so great. His love for us that I can't stop saying how good has God been to us, right? Anyway, love you, little brother.
Thank you.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right, let's stand up.
Thank you.
I'll ruin the shot.
Yeah. Good day.